Welcome back to Marriage Building Thursday, the podcast dedicated to helping couples create strong and thriving relationships. I'm your host, Ron Simplified Myers. Today we have an important topic to discuss, one that is very crucial for any relationship to work in every relationship that has faced challenges, and that is rebuilding trust. Now, trust is the foundation of all healthy relationships, and when it's broken, it takes effort and commitment to heal and restore it. Now, I know many of you instantly start thinking, in time. Yes, time is an element, but I believe time relates to how long it takes you to decide to eliminate or stop holding on to old stories and beliefs and be open to new stories and beliefs. Because time by itself, it will never heal. But we can get into those kind of things in later podcasts. But in today's episode, we want to explore effective strategies and practical steps you can take to rebuild the trust and strengthen your bond. So let's jump right into it. First off, understand the impact of broken trust. Now, this is something you can discuss with your partner, but I think we're all very, very clear that without trust, we don't have a relationship that can function. Because I'm always questioning what you're doing, where you're at, and vice versa. So I think that's pretty clear. I think we understand the significance of it, but it might be a good topic to have anyway. You also want to explore the effects of broken trust on an individual and the relationship as a whole. Because when trust is broken in a relationship, it can have significant effects on both individuals and the relationship as a whole. Here's some points that you need to expand on the effects of broken trust. One is emotional impact, betrayal. Ooh, that's a scary one. The individual who has been betrayed often experiences a deep sense of betrayal, which can lead to feelings of anger, sadness, hurt, and confusion. Trust forces the foundation of emotional intimacy, and when it's shattered, it can be challenging to rebuild. Hopefully, that's not something that you have to deal with, but if you do, this one you're going to have to be patient with the person who has been betrayed. And guess what? They're the ones that get to hold on to how long they want to, because if you're the person that created the betrayal, you can't demand a time. Although it's not something, if you're the person that betrayed, you can hold on to for a very long period of time. Because if you can't let it go, then you need to let the relationship go. And again, you guys know I'm fond of marriage and I'm against it, divorce, but I'm never going to tell you to ever stay again in a relationship that is causing mental or physical abuse. And if you have a person who maybe you messed up or they messed up, you told them you forgave them, but if you keep staying on it and you're not willing to move forward, then the relationship can't move forward. And it might be something that you're going to have to think about. Hopefully you'll learn the things that we're teaching here, and that won't be the option, divorce, that D word. But if that's what it comes to, because there's, to me, being in an unhealthy relationship is not good for you, your life, the journey, kids, if you have them, because they're watching that. And it also, what it does for you as an individual, it could decrease your self-esteem. Because understand, the person that's been betrayed, their self-worth and wonder may start going around, as far as wondering the honesty and loyalty and questioning whether they are deserving of honesty and loyalty. Is there something about them? And a lot of times kids do that. You know, they'll blame themselves. Like if the parents end up in divorce, they blame themselves. Partners do the same thing. They'll look at, is it me? Is there something I did that created this? Now, again, this is always taking responsibility for your part, but understand you're never responsible for someone else's actions. But understand this betrayal thing and this broken trust, it can lead to a decrease in self-esteem and self-confidence. Anxiety and insecurity. What it does, broken trust can create a sense of anxiety and insecurity in both of the partners. The betrayed individual may struggle with trust issues, constantly question their partner's activities and actions. You guys have heard the stories. You come in at 5:15, you were supposed to be home at 5, instantly, where were you? What were you doing? Who were you with? That kind of stuff. And the person who broke the trust, They may also experience guilt and anxiety about their ability to regain trust and repair the relationship. I know sometimes it's hard for us to believe that the person who did it is actually feeling bad, but sometimes people actually feel bad the moment they do it or the moment after they did it. They let their emotions get involved and certain decisions, and they do it, and then afterwards, it's kind of like, when you go shopping, you buy things on impulse, and then you go home and you try to explain to yourself why you just did that, why you purchased that when you know it's not necessarily something you needed. But then you'll keep talking till you convince yourself as to why you did it. And that happens when some of the moves that we make in life, we do it based on an emotion at that particular moment. And then later we think about it. And maybe it wasn't a smart move. Now we got to start to figure out how do we work through this. And for some people, they actually torture themselves more than the partner will ever actually. So we have to understand it works on both sides. But again, the betrayed person is the person who gets to decide on how long this process is going to take, because guess what? You did cross the line. Okay, behavior impact. Now, communication breakdown. Trust is closely linked to that open and honest communication, which we've talked about before. When trust is broken, communication often becomes strained and ineffective. Individuals may become guarded with information. They're very defensive in their behavior, and it's going to create big problems with inside of the relationship. So those behavioral backgrounds is a person who's not in the forgiving state. If you're the person who's been betrayed. And you gotta watch your behaviors. And the same thing with the person who did the betraying. You have to understand the things that you were doing that created the betrayal, or the lack of trust or the communication breakdown. And you got to be willing to step out of what you've normally done in order to bridge that gap. And you may think it's unfair on some of the things that's going to be asked of you, but guess what? Again, you're the person that crossed the line. You're going to have to be able to make some adjustments. It's definitely going to increase conflict. Okay, broken trust is going to lead to many conflicts and over little things in a lot of cases. And it's because that person is hurting, and you have to understand, if you're the person again that crossed the line, it might take a little patience with that person for them to be able to get through it. But at the same time, and that's why I keep going back, I don't want to make it just one-sided. If you're the person who has been betrayed, or you believe the trust has been broken because of something your partner did, you got to be able to notice that the conflicts that you're creating, how important are they to continue to hold on to? Because again, you're going to take your relationship to the area we've talked about before, where again, I'm talking about mental or physical abuse, which I'm never ever going to agree with. It's definitely going to affect intimacy. Trust is a crucial element in building and maintaining emotional and physical intimacy. See, I'm not a person that there's a belief that a woman should be open to having sex with her husband whenever he wants it. And it doesn't matter the situation. I've never believed that, and I never will believe that. The reason for that is called intimacy for a reason. If I'm not feeling you because of something you've done, and I feel betrayed, guess what? During the intimacy, the sex, or however you want to classify it, I am doing something against my will. And guess what? You're going to make the person that's having sex with you feel as if you're almost to a point, I don't want to use the R word, but it does. It comes close to it, where a person feel like they're being used, they're being abused, they're being taken advantage of, they're being against their will. And it is really against their will if it's not something they want to do. And the only reason they're doing it is because in their mind, they believe and they've been taught that you're supposed to be servant to your partner, to your husband, no matter what the circumstances, just because he feels like it. And guys, you got to get over that. Whoever taught you that, That is not good to believe that no matter what the situation is, no matter how mad she is at you, no matter what you've done, but because you feel that the need is there, that you want it, she should just lay down and perform for you. Folks, you gotta look at the human element of everything. So anyway, this loss of intimacy is real. Pay close attention to it. And it definitely is going to have erosion of the foundation of the marriage. It's going to start to fall apart. When that trust is broken, the foundation is weakened and the stability of the relationship is compromised. So this is when it's going to be challenging to restore that sense of security, but we both have to be participating. You notice I said both. This is not a one person heal all situation. We both have to be involved in making this happen or it can't happen. You're going to deal with loss of reliability where you feel like anything that I would normally trust you to do, I don't want to ask you to do because I don't believe in you anymore. Think about that. When your partner doesn't believe in you anymore, doesn't trust you anymore, doesn't think you're reliable, man, we know that leads to the possibility of that D word, the dissolving of the relationship, ending up in divorce. So it's essential to recognize the effects of the broken trust. And it comes in various forms from person to person and relationship to relationship. But rebuilding this trust, it requires patience, understanding, and a willingness to address underlying issues. And some of it may not be issues that you actually brought into the relationship that your partner still hasn't resolved. But we're in this relationship, especially since we're talking about marriage, that you got to be willing to work with that person so that we can commit to growth and helping that person through that. Why? Because we both win. But understand, it is possible to heal and restore the relationship. Now, let's also highlight real quick before we close out here some of the common causes of trust issues, because it can vary from different factors. And it's important that each individual in the relationship is unique. So therefore, what you consider a trust or a common cause may not be the same for your partner. As you've heard me say before, people talk about it's common sense. May be common to you, but it may not be common to anyone else. So you have to be willing to understand that a relationship is just that. It's relating. Let's talk. Let's discuss any and everything. But we talked about the infidelity and betrayal. Some of the causes could be past trauma experience, which we touched on a little bit. That lack of open communication. I've had people tell me. I had a young lady who was talking to me the other day. She was telling me that the guy she's with, whenever she wants to, where she disagrees with something he said or something he did, and he doesn't want to talk about it, he'll shut down and he'll walk out of the room or whatever. And I told her, you're in the dating stage and he does that? Folks, if your partner is already doing that in the dating stage, why would you move to the marriage state? Now, of course, since we're dealing with marriages here, you're already inside of it. But we got to work on this communication stuff. This not being open to talking and turning your back and walking away. Now, if you need to calm down because you know your temperament and you may say something that can hurt the relationship, I agree. Just tell the person, let me calm down for a little bit. We can get back to this. But folks, never ever be in a position that you're not willing to have a conversation with your partner and things that are important to them that may not seem important to you. Because again, if you don't, that starts to cause just what we're saying, trust issues. Because now I feel like whenever I need something, I want something, I can't even talk to you. Trust issues. Now I understand control and manipulation. Okay, we know people do this. They will manipulate you. Do not create that inside your relationship, because it definitely erodes trust. When I notice that all you're doing is manipulating me, where some people want to cry and they're faking. Some people will stick their lip out. Some people will throw stories at you like, poor me, that kind of story of what has happened to them in their past. And it's only been used for control or manipulation. Folks, do not bring that into your relationship. If it's already there, let's work on getting that changed. And folks, all the stuff that I'm covering here, we'll cover more detail and as coming future podcasts. I'm just kind of giving you some highlights on things that are very important in this particular segment. And watch out when you have the inconsistent and unreliable behavior. Just like I said, the person, if you normally get home at 5, you start getting home at 5:15 and 5:45 and 7 and stuff like that. And there's really no reason that you're doing it. Folks, danger zone. And also, let's deal with lack of boundaries. Trust has to be comprised of boundaries. Life has boundaries. I had someone tell me, I'm looking for a man that puts me in check. And I started laughing. I said, this is not a put you in check boundaries conversation. This is a maturity conversation. You're an adult. The only reason a person feels like they ever have to check you is because you crossed boundaries. Why are you crossing boundaries as an adult? And in the growing stages, in the early parts of relationships, maybe some of those boundaries you're learning. But you have to be open when your partner tells you that you're crossing a boundary. It doesn't matter whether you think it is or not. Again, it doesn't matter where your thought process is. I have to stay open and hear where they're coming from. Not saying that they're right or wrong, but it's being open to hear, okay, this is a boundary. Why is this a boundary? This is how remember we talked about before about the safe space and being able to go somewhere where we can talk. That's what this is all about when we're creating boundaries and stuff. Why do you feel this way? You know what I mean? And then I can share with you my perspective, and then we'll come to an agreement. Also, look at personal insecurities. People have some personal as we talked about before, that low self-esteem. They got the fear of rejection. Again, relationships are about working together to address those issues, especially in this podcast, since we're dealing with married people. You're already in the relationship. You may have to go back to all the stuff that we're talking about now and work on those things inside of your relationship because they weren't resolved in the beginning. But you need to address them now if you want that relationship to last. There's another cause could be substance abuse or an addiction. Somebody gets into something. Most people, the abuses come later. Early in life, they have those in the beginning. It's not too many people that get into it later, like drinking and stuff. If a person did drink in their earlier stages, it's very rare they're going to start doing that when they get older. It does happen. Don't get it twisted, but normally that's not the case. If a person doesn't drink, they don't drink. It's usually something that they've done in their earlier stages, and they've realized this was a way that they addressed certain issues, and they went back to that to address issues versus dealing with the issues. But again, all of these are causes of breakdown. But the bottom line is we have to communicate so that we can address these issues and help each other move forward. Because again, we are a team. So commit to changing and having that open communication. Take responsibility and be willing to apologize if you're the person at fault. Sometimes you're going to apologize just because they believe you're at fault. I know for some of you that's tough. It's like, but I didn't do nothing. If it brings peace in your home, let's be able to apologize and be able to move forward, because we can't tell a person that their thought process and their beliefs are wrong because they're their beliefs. I don't have to agree with you. I've said that before. Love to me is accepting a person, place, or thing just as it is. I didn't say agree. I said accepting. That acceptance is kind of what we're talking about here. I can accept that you believe that. I'll apologize because you believe that to be true. It doesn't mean I agree with you, but I'm willing to help you through that process and understand this is something that you hold dear to you, and I accept that. Again, doesn't mean I have to agree. Two separate conversations. So let's work on rebuilding trust, and that comes from consistency and transparency. You got to be willing to be open, as we talked about before. The lines of community, especially if you're one of those people, the cheating is the issue. and your partner may want to look at your phone. Again, I know some of you that's a big issue. Somebody going through your phone, folks. If you have nothing to hide, what's the problem? My wife had all my passwords for everything. I had all hers. Who cares? We're in this together. I mean, it's there's nothing that I need to hide. And if you're the person that crossed those lines, guess what? There's some things that you're going to have to be willing, as I said earlier, be willing to go through, because you're working on building that trust. And if you need to, folks, go get some professional help. Hopefully, something like this, my podcast, will help you and get you to that point, and help you guys through it. But if not, go get professional help. And don't listen to the world telling you there's something wrong with you, especially guys. If the world is telling you there's something wrong with that, don't listen to that. Your relationship is more important than listening to what the people out here in the world are saying. Go get the help if you need it. And more importantly, be patient, have forgiveness, and be willing to move forward. Because if you don't have forgiveness, you can't move forward. So bottom line, I know rebuilding trust is a challenging journey, but with dedication, some open communication, a commitment to change, it is possible to heal and restore your relationship. Remember, trust, it's going to take some effort to rebuild. And setbacks may occur along the way. But you have to be patient and forgive each other. And this will create that stronger bond, is knowing that we're in this together. And I always talk about that, folks. It's you and I against the problem, not you versus me. And if you notice that is going on in your relationship, that is you versus me, we got to turn that around, because we're on the same squad and we can't win if we have different agendas and we're fighting against each other. We have to get on the same squad. And as you guys know, it ain't right, it ain't wrong, it is my opinion. I look forward to talking to you guys on Monday, Self-Love Monday. We'll be back in the house. And as you guys know, in the meantime, if you're not having fun, you should be doing something else. I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.